Welcome to Sheikh Hamdan's official channel, the only place where the royal heart meets the whispers of untold truths. Tonight, we unveil a story hidden deep within golden walls and poetic silence, the secret letter Sheikh Hamdan never wanted you to read. It's not just ink on paper, it's emotions sealed in secrecy, a confession that carries the scent of heartbreak and hope intertwined. What was written in that letter was never meant for public eyes, yet it holds the power to melt even the coldest hearts. It all began on a night when the world was asleep, but his heart refused to rest. Under the pale moonlight, Sheikh Hamdan sat at his desk, not as a crown prince, not as a leader, but as a man drowning in memories. The paper before him was blank, yet his mind overflowed with words he had buried for years. With a sigh that carried the weight of destiny, he began to write. Every line he penned felt like a wound reopening, every word whispered the ache of something unfinished. He wrote about moments the world never knew, stolen glances during golden sunsets, laughter that still echoed in his palace corridors, and promises made in whispers that time could not erase. He confessed how duty became his greatest rival, and how the weight of a kingdom forced him to sacrifice the one thing he truly wanted, her. The letter was not an apology, it was an unspoken dialogue between love and destiny. As the ink dried, the room felt heavier. It was as if every chandelier, every framed photograph, every wall around him was listening. Sheikh Hamdan paused, his eyes reflecting both regret and gratitude. He didn't write as a ruler that night, he wrote as a man who still remembered the way her presence changed the rhythm of his soul. His words were raw, fragile, almost poetic. Each sentence was a heartbeat he had never shared aloud. In the letter, he admitted something even more profound, that letting her go was not an act of strength, but of surrender. He wrote that he had watched her walk away, not because he wanted to, but because he loved her enough to set her free. He spoke of watching her silhouette disappear into the horizon while his heart begged him to call her back. Yet he didn't, because love, to him, was never about possession, but peace. The letter also revealed a side of Sheikh Hamdan that few had ever seen, vulnerable, reflective, deeply human. He described how poetry became his secret companion, how he poured his pain into verses so the world would think it was art, not confession. He spoke of nights when he couldn't sleep, when he would scroll through old memories like a prisoner tracing the shape of his chains. He wrote of wondering whether she ever thought of him, or if his name had turned to silence in her world. He admitted he still carried her laughter in the rhythm of his days, her tears in the rhythm of his nights. It wasn't nostalgia, it was a love that had learned to exist in absence. At one point, he wrote a line so powerful it could break the world's composure. They can take my throne, my titles, my fame, but they can never take the memory of you. It was the kind of sentence that revealed everything and nothing at once. It showed that even the mightiest of men are haunted by the ghosts of their own tenderness. His crown was heavy, but not as heavy as the weight of her name on his heart. When the letter was complete, Sheikh Hamdan sealed it with his personal crest, the royal emblem that symbolized his life of duty. But this time, it felt like a farewell to what could never be. He placed the letter inside a small velvet box, locked it, and hid it away in his private study. No one was meant to read it. It wasn't meant for history. It was meant for closure. Yet fate has its own plans, and secrets like that never stay buried forever. Years later, a trusted aide reportedly found the box while archiving personal belongings. The discovery sparked quiet conversations among the inner circle, but the contents were never shared publicly. Still, fragments of the letter began to surface through his later poetry, cryptic lines that hinted at a love once so powerful it defied time itself. The world read his poems, Sometimes, while standing at the edge of the desert, he would speak softly to God. "You gave me everything," he would say, "except the freedom to live unseen." And in that prayer, there was no bitterness, only honesty. For beneath every title, every triumph, lay a man who wished to live one life not written by others, one life painted in his own colors. Yet in the stillness between duties, when he stood alone before the horizon, the same truth returned: he was not made only of power. He was made of dreams too fragile to survive in the daylight. In the distance, dawn began to rise again, spilling gold across the desert like a promise renewed. Hamdan watched as the first light touched the domes of the palace, bathing them in a glow that seemed almost holy. He smiled softly, realizing that the light was no longer outside him, it was within. His confession had not weakened him, it had refined him. The poet who once wrote of dreams had now become one with his own truth. There was no longer a divide between Fazza, the public voice, and Hamdan, the private soul. They had merged, one man, whole and unafraid. When the world eventually asked about her, Sheikh Hamdan never spoke ill. He smiled, not with bitterness, but with acceptance. "She was a part of my journey," he said once, "and every journey has lessons that words cannot explain." That's how the poet in him healed, not by forgetting the lie, but by forgiving the heart that told it. In forgiveness, he found freedom. Today, his story serves as a quiet reminder to millions: not all love stories are meant to last, and not all endings are failures. Some are revelations. Sometimes, the lie teaches you more than the truth ever could. Sometimes, it breaks you just enough to rebuild you stronger. And in Sheikh Hamdan's case, the lie didn't destroy his heart, it purified it. And though his story was wounded, it was also transformed. He became wiser, deeper, more grounded. The man who once believed in fairy tales began to understand that real love is not flawless, it's honest. Those who read his later works can feel the shift. His poetry no longer worshipped perfection, it honored authenticity. He stopped writing about idealized beauty and started writing about broken souls, healing hearts, and the courage to begin again. His pain became art, his disappointment became wisdom, and his silence became strength. The lie that once broke him ended up defining his most powerful truth. So as the moonlight wraps itself around the towers of Dubai tonight, remember this: even if his love story was built on a lie, what rose from its ruins was something real. A man who learned to love without illusion, to lead with empathy, and to write